Good morning to all of you. With the continuation of previous lecture of cerebellum, in which we have seen what is the physiologic anatomy of the cerebellum, what are the different lobes, anatomical division, phylogenetic division, functional division, and histological structure. In that, we have seen what are the different neuronal cells present in the cerebellum, like for example, striate cells, basket cell, Purkinje cells, Golgi cells, and granule cells. Then in today's lecture, we are going to see what are the neuronal circuit and how that neuronal circuit helpful for various activity like input, how the input arises in the cerebellum via the Mossi fiber and the climbing fiber. And once that information is processed in the neuronal circuit and output is sent via the deep cerebral nuclei, and only one cell, that is the Purkinje cells, exons of Purkinje cells, send output to the deep cerebral nuclei. And then from deep cerebral nuclei, the connections, various outputs sent toward the thalamus cerebral cortex, that we are going to see in the input and output of the cerebellum. In next lecture, we are going to see what are the functions and applied part of the cerebral, these functions. Okay, so let's start with some neuronal circuit and the neuronal activity present in the cerebellum. So just again, this is a revision of how the cerebellar is attached to the brainstem via the superior cerebral peduncles, midbrain, middle cerebral peduncle, pons, and inferior cerebral peduncles, that is a medulla. Okay, so midbrain, pons, and the medulla. This is how the cerebellum is attached. Each cerebral hemisphere is attached to the brainstem nuclei. So in general, what is meant by projection fiber, association fiber, and the commissural fiber? Projection fibers which connects other parts of the central nervous system. For example, if we take a projection fibers of cerebellar hemisphere, that means it's nothing but it connects the cerebellar hemisphere to the other part of the nervous system. For example, superior cerebral peduncle, which connect the cerebellar hemisphere to the midbrain, middle cerebral peduncle, which connect the cerebral hemisphere toward the pons, and inferior cerebral peduncle connects toward the medulla. So that is called as projection fiber. It is same for the in the cerebral cortex, from the cerebral cortex toward the other part of the nervous system. Same thing for the cerebellum, from the cerebellum to the other parts of the nervous system, that is called as projection fiber. About association fiber, different regions of the same cerebral hemisphere. That means right cerebral hemisphere connection between the different neuronal cells of right hemisphere only. That is called as association fiber. Commissural fiber, it connects the two halves of the cerebral hemisphere with each other. That means right half of the cerebral hemisphere connect to the left half of the cerebral hemisphere. That is called as commissural fiber. Okay, so you may have MCQ on this, on projection fiber, association fiber, and the commissural fiber. Now, what are the afferent which are enter into the cerebellum? That is nothing but the climbing fiber and the Mossi fiber. In the last lecture, we have seen what is meant by climbing fiber. It is nothing but the afferent or input from the only inferior olivary nucleus, that is called as olivocerebellar tract. And this inferior olivary nucleus is present in the medulla. So the climb, why this? The climb directly and synapse with the Purkinje cells dendrite. That means there is a one-to-one connection. It directly synapses with the dendrites of the Purkinje cells. And also it gives rise to excitatory signal toward the deep cerebral nuclei. That means one branch, before going to enter into the deep cerebral nuclei, they send the, or before going to enter into Purkinje cells, they send excitatory signals toward the toward the deep cerebral nuclei. So collateral synapse with the deep cerebral nuclei, which is excitatory, that is aspartate is a neurotransmitter which is excitatory toward the deep cerebral nuclei, and simultaneously it sends one climbing fiber toward the Purkinje cells. And the connection is very specific. There is a one climbing fibers to one Purkinje cells, one-to-one connection. And that's why the excitatory effect is very strong toward the Purkinje cell. So this is climbing fiber. You can see the inferior alveolar nucleus. One branch sent toward the deep cerebral nuclei, which is excitatory aspartate neurotransmitter, while another climbing fibers which enter into the molecular layer in which there is a dendrites of Purkinje cells is there and which is excited. Okay, so inferior alveolar nucleus excite deep cerebral nucleus also, and one-to-one connection toward the Purkinje cells. That is called as, and that's why the excitatory effect is very strong via this climbing fiber as compared to the mossy fiber. That we are going to see in the mossy fibers. So this is again repetition, as you know that all the 4 types of cells present in the cerebellum is inhibitory, except you can see that Golgi cells, Purkinje cells, basket cell, stellate cells. These are 4 are inhibitory, while only the Purkinje, granular cells, which is excited. Okay, so while other cells, that is only Golgi cells, which is excitatory, while all cells are inhibitory. Basket cell, stellate cell, Purkinje cells, and the granular cells. These are all inhibitory, and Golgi cells is excitatory toward the deep cerebral nuclei. Then about mossy fiber, the axons of spinocerebellum, that is other than the inferior alveolar nucleus, that is the spinocerebellum, vestibular cerebellum, that is a vestibular group of nuclei, spinal cord, the reticular activity systems, and cuneatus nucleus of the medulla. From this area, all the information input toward the cerebellum is via mossy fiber. So why it is called as mossy fiber? Because it resembles like a moss plant when they enter into the cerebellum, and each make synaptic. Now there is no direct connection to all the Purkinje cells. This first synapse with the granule cells, and then granule cells give rise to various branches that is called as parallel fibers, and then they synapse with the Purkinje cells. Okay, so around 1 mossy fibers gives rise to activate the around 450 Purkinje cells. So as compared to the climbing fibers, in the climbing fiber there is a direct one-to-one connection, and that's why excitatory impulse is very strong as compared to the mossy fiber. So this is a moss plant. The connection of that ascending fibers of mossy fiber or that afferent is look like a moss plant, and that's what it's called as mossy fiber. There is no direct connection. It first excites the granule cells, and then that give rise to the parallel fibers, which in turn excite the other cells. That is a Purkinje cells, parallel fibers. So in the glomeruli, the mossy fibers release excitatory neurotransmitter, again glutamate, toward the deep cerebral nuclei, and also it excites the granular cells. Okay, I will show the diagram again. You can see that the mossy fiber which excite the deep cerebral nuclei, and the mossy fiber which excite the granular cells. Okay, and these granular cells give rise to the various parallel fibers. So these are the mossy fiber, glutamate, and these are the climbing fiber. Direct connection with the Purkinje cells, while the mossy fibers first connect with the granular cells, and these granular cells give rise to the parallel fibers, which in turn connected to the dendrites of the Purkinje cells. Okay. So both climbing fibers and mossy fiber are excitatory toward the deep cerebral nuclei, and also simultaneously they are excitatory toward the Purkinje cells. Only difference is that the climbing fiber is direct connection, directly excite the Purkinje cells, dendrites of the Purkinje cells, while mossy fibers via the granular cells, they excite the Purkinje cells. So in briefly, the granular cells is excitatory, which release the glutamate. So granular cell is the only excitatory which release the glutamate toward the Purkinje cells, while other 4 types of cell, Purkinje cells, basket cell, Golgi cells, stellate cells, which are inhibitory toward the Purkinje cell, dendrites of Purkinje cells. Okay, so this sentence is very important. You remember this sentence. In Viva they will ask, or in MCQ also they will ask, which is excitatory cell toward the Purkinje cells. That is nothing but the granular cells, parallel fibers of granular cells. This is the excitatory toward the Purkinje cells because of release of glutamate, while other types of cell, basket cell, Golgi cells, Tillet cell are inhibitory toward the Purkinje cells, while these Purkinje cells again inhibitory towards the deep cerebral nuclei. So you can see that after finishing the input, that is a afferent via the mossy fiber and the climbing fiber, the action is very specific. First, there is an excitation of deep cerebral nuclei. You know that deep cerebral nuclei is the only output from the cerebellum. But that output is very specific. All the mossy fiber and climbing fiber, they first excite the deep cerebral nuclei. And this excitation is followed by inhibition by the Purkinje cells, axons of Purkinje cells. Okay. So this excitation followed by inhibition is very important function of the this neuronal circuit of the cerebellum. Okay. And how the inhibition take place of Purkinje cells via the different Tillet cell, basket cell, then Purkinje, the Golgi cells. So these are the afferent. This olivocerebellar is only afferent. They enter into the cerebellum via the climbing fiber, inferior olivary nucleus present in the medulla, while all other, that is starting from the cortex, pons and cerebellum, from the vestibular group of nuclei, then from the reticular activating substance of the midbrain, pons and medulla, then tectum group of midbrain, cuneatus nucleus of the medulla, red nucleus of the midbrain, then dorsal and ventral spinocerebellar tract from the spinal cord itself. So these all other than olivocerebellum, they enter via the mossy fiber and they form moss-like structure plant inside that connection with the granular cells, and that's why it is called as mossy fiber. So let us see one by one. What are the afferent? Corticopontine, the name itself, cortex. Which cortex? Mainly the part of motor cortex and premotor cortex. They enter into the pontine group of nuclei and they cross immediately toward the opposite side and enter into the middle cerebellar peduncle, via the middle cerebral peduncle, and where that is the lateral part of the cerebral hemisphere. As in the last lecture, we have seen what are the intermediate zone, what is the lateral zone of the cerebral hemisphere, and what is the function of the lateral zone of the cerebral hemisphere. It is helpful for proper coordination in muscular activity. Coordination is very important during the any type, like for example, playing a piano, then writing, driving skill. And at that time, the coordination is very important. Muscular coordination is very important. And this is done by the corticopontocerebellar tract. Climbing fiber, that is the olivocerebellar tract. Now, this olivary group of nuclei present in the cerebellum, they receive the signals from the brainstem nucleus of the same side. They receive the signals from the spinal cord also, and they also receive the signals from the cerebral cortex. Once the signals arises at the olivary group of nuclei from this brainstem, spinal cord, and the cerebral cortex, they cross to the opposite side and they enter into the cerebellar nuclei. And what is the function of this tract? Proprioception. The proprioceptive impulses for whole body. Now, what is proprioception? We have already seen in the sensory system. What is the proprioception? It is nothing but the perception of movement. Again, in practical hours, we are going to see how we are going to check the proprioception. So, perception of every movements. We ask a person to close the eyes, and then we move the person's either shoulder, elbow, or wrist joint or fingers, and person pursue that movement, and that is called as proprioception. And this proprioception is because of olivocerebellar tract. Then vestibulocerebellar, as the name itself, it receives the signals from the vestibular group of nuclei, and they enter in the cerebellar via the inferior cerebral peduncle and enter into the fastigial group of nuclei. And this is concerned with the position and movements of the body. That is maintaining the balance. Reticulocerebellum, the name itself, reticular activating substance, which are present in the midbrain, pons, and medulla. And they enter into via the inferior cerebral peduncle, and main important function is muscle tone, maintenance of muscle tone and posture. This is very important function of reticulocerebellar. Again, in the lectures of muscle tone and posture, we are going to see overall how the muscle tone and posture is connected along with the cerebellum, then thalamus, then main is motor cortex and cerebellum. Then tectocerebellum, tectum group of superior and inferior collicula of the midbrain, And most important function is it carry the auditory and visual information. This is very important function carried by this tectocerebellar tract. Then next, cuneatus group of nuclei of the cerebellum, medulla, and it sent toward via the spinocerebellum, and its main function is again proprioception from upper extremity, that is upper limb, upper trunk, and neck. This is the most important function done by the cuneatus group of nucleus. Red nucleus of the midbrain via the superior cerebral peduncle, and they transmit impulses which have originated from the motor cortex and relayed in the red nucleus. Okay, so the transmission of impulses which arises in the red nucleus from the motor cortex, they enter into the cerebellum. About the dorsal and ventral spinocerebellar tract, the name itself, the dorsal group of nuclei present in the spinal, that is dorsal horn, and ventral, that is the ventral horn. From the dorsal, that is, it receives the sensory signals, and with sensory signals, it receives the sensory signals of degree of tension in the muscle, the stretching of the muscle, how much length, change in the length of the muscle during the contraction and relaxation, then position and rate of movements of parts of body. This signals are sent toward the vermis and intermediate zone on the same side of the cerebral hemisphere. About the ventral spine, that is ventral, that is motor signals. Which motor signals? Whatever the motor signals, motor activity sent toward the effector organ, skeletal muscles, that one efference copy, that is one same copy is sent toward the cerebellum for correction. Okay, and this is most important function which gives rise to momentary information of muscle contraction and movement of body. So this is about dorsal and ventral spinocerebellar tract. You can see that these are the dorsal spinocerebellar tract. These are the ventral, arising from the ventral group of nuclei. Sorry, ventral and anterior horn cells. One efference copy toward the cerebellum. So these are all about afferent tracts, starting from the spinal cord. Then you can have midbrain. Then all that is cortex also. Then vestibular group of nuclei also toward the flacculonodular lobe. So this is about the input. That is, input is from the above the cerebellum, that is midbrain, pons, thalamus, cortex. Sorry, thalamus, cortex, then motor cortex, and input also from the spinal cord. Now output from the cerebellum. Only output is via Purkinje cell. This Purkinje cells, which is inhibitory toward the deep cerebellar nuclei. Okay. And what is the specificity of this output? About the deep cerebral nuclei, you know that deep cerebral nuclei are which are excited by the climbing fiber and mossy fiber, and this excitation signal is followed by within a fraction of a second, that is inhibitory via the Purkinje cells. So excitation followed by inhibition. This is most important thing about the output of the cerebellum. So what are the output? As you know that the cerebellum divided from the posterior inferior surface, they divided into lateral zone, intermediate zone, and vermis. About the lateral zone, you know that the most important connection with the cortex, and that's why it is most important in coordination of sequential motor activities which are initiated by the cortex, because the connection is toward the motor cortex. So most important nuclei present in the which are related to the lateral zone, that is called as dentate nucleus. Okay, and then from the dentate nucleus it enters into the red nucleus, then thalamus, and then cortex. So this is important for the sequential. You know that the initiation of movement is done by that cortex, corticospinal tract, but sequence, how that coordination is required for that particular movement is done by this lateral zone of the cerebellum. About the vermis, the connection is toward that output is mainly from the fascicular group of nuclei of the cerebellum toward the medulla, pons, vestibular group of nuclei, and most important function is maintenance of posture and equilibrium. Okay, then intermediate zone, this is mainly important for coordination of reciprocal contraction of agonist and antagonist muscles of distal limb, that is hand, fingers, and this is again because connection with the thalamus, that is the ventroanterior and ventrolateral nucleus of thalamus. So this is a vermis, this is the intermediate zone, this is the lateral zone, Lateral zone is mainly for the connection with the cortex, and that's why it is mainly involved in the sequential movement of the timing and coordination. This is again for MCQ purpose. This diagram is very important. Lateral zone is mainly for the sequencing of movements and timing and coordination, while the vermis is mainly important for, vermis is mainly important for axial movements of neck, shoulder, and hips. And this intermediate zone is mainly for the motion of or motor movements of the distal limbs, especially hands and feet. While flexural lobe is important for the posture and equilibrium. So these are the different output from the cerebellum. You can have dentate nucleus toward the thalamus and cortex, fastigial group of nucleus, flexural group of nucleus, that is a interpositus group of nucleus, globuses. So these are the input and output. And once that input and output, once that afferent is entered into the cerebral nucleus, there is a various neuronal circuits is formed because of the release of some neurotransmitter. One is excitatory, one is inhibitory, which give rise to the various active neuronal activity, and then final neural activity via the Purkinje cells output enter into the deep cerebral nucleus. What is specificity of this neuronal circuit? The cerebellum has 30 million identical functional units. Cerebellum executes its functions through excitatory output of the deep cerebral nucleus. This is only output for the excited from the cerebellum. Neuronal connection within the cerebral cortex, that is a intrinsic cerebral circuit concerned with the modulating or timing the excitatory output of deep cerebral nuclei, and via which that is only single output, that is called as Purkinje cells, which is inhibitory toward the deep cerebral nuclei. So neuronal circuit under this heading, you can say that afferent toward the cerebral cortex, we have seen afferent from the climbing fiber and the mossy fiber. Neuronal activity takes place because of release of some neurotransmitter, either excitatory or inhibitory. And because of that, excitatory and inhibitory various action take place at the deep cerebral nuclei, mainly excitation followed by inhibition. This is about the climbing fiber. You can see that from the inferior oligoid group of nucleus, first they excite the deep cerebral nucleus, then there is a direct connection toward the Purkinje cells, one-to-one connection, and that's why it gives rise to a very complex spike. Again, for MCQ purpose, the inferior oligoid nucleus climbing fiber, because of one-to-one connection, it will give rise to the complex spike, which consists of strong spike followed by trail of weakening. That is called a secondary spike. Okay, this is about the climbing fiber. About the mossy fiber, they connect first to the deep cerebral nuclei. Sorry, this is mossy fiber. They send the excitatory signal to the deep cerebral nuclei, and instead of going directly to the Purkinje cells, they first connect toward the granule cells, and these granule cells then give rise to the parallel fibers and then connect toward the Purkinje cells. Okay. So this is about the, and most important thing is that it will give rise to the mossy fiber, give rise to the simple spike because of 5 to 1,000 granule cells are synapsed with the one Purkinje cells. That is indirect connection toward the Purkinje cells, which give rise to the simple spike. Again, same, you can see that excitation is followed by inhibition, that is by the deep Purkinje axons of the Purkinje cells. And this excitation followed by inhibition is very important for balancing of the normal excitation and inhibition of followed is action is favor toward the excitation, and this excitation followed by inhibition is very important for to control the negative feedback signals occur after a short delay to stop the muscle movement and to prevent the overshooting. And that's why if there is a damage to that particular nuclear deep cerebral group of nuclei or the damage to the cerebellum, this particular activity, that is in that person, overshooting is present. Now, what is overshooting? For example, we hold the person's forearm and ask the person to flex the elbow against resistance. You apply resistance toward the forearm and ask the person to flex the elbow against resistance. Okay. And once you suddenly rotate that, remove that your resistance, your pressure or arm, suddenly in normal person, what happened? It will stop because of control of cerebellum. But in damage to the cerebellum, what happens? There is overshooting. That means suddenly they hit the himself. Or otherwise, you can ask the person to do finger to nose test. The normal person can touch the finger towards the nose of the same of the person, but in damage to cerebellum, there is overshooting. That means the person may go beyond the point of target, may go beyond the nose. That is called as overshooting. And this overshooting is prevented by the deep cerebral nucleus. And how? This is excitation followed by the inhibition. Excitation by input of climbing fiber and the mossy fiber, while inhibition by the Purkinje cells, that is a axon of Purkinje cells, which inhibit toward the deep cerebral nuclei. Okay. So what are the other inhibitory cells present in the cerebellum? As you know that basket cells, stellate cells, which are inhibitory toward the short axon, both are located in the molecular layer and stimulated by the parallel fibers. That is a parallel fibers of granule cells. Send axons to the lateral inhibition of the Purkinje cells, that is the sharpening of the signal. Golgi cells, which feedback to inhibit the granule cells. Various neurotransmitters are GABA by stellate cell, basket cell, Golgi cell, Purkinje cells, and glutamate, which is excitatory, it is granule cells. It is created by the granule cells. So this is about today's lecture, that is neuronal circuit and neuronal activity. We have to remember which cells are excitatory and which is only single output, the Purkinje cells, which inhibit the deep cerebral nuclei. And these Purkinje cells receive the number of signals from the stellate cell, basket cells, then parallel fibers of the granule cells, also the Golgi cells. Okay. In the next lecture, we are going to see some functions of the cerebellum and what happens if there is a damage to the cerebellum. Okay. So, thank you.